A lot of Bigfoot encounters have occurred in areas of spiritual significance, like cemeteries or areas that have seen a large amount of death.
Just now, the Expedition Bigfoot hunt was suddenly stopped after a bone-chilling find. Their gear picked up eerie signals deep in the woods, and the air was thick with dread.
It looks like it's hiding directly behind the tree. There's only a small portion revealed now.
They found a massive, unsettling handprint in the mud among the shadows, clearly not from any human. This gruesome clue confirmed their worst fears. Something fearsome was definitely hiding nearby. What exactly did they uncover that was so terrifying? Tune in as we reveal the shocking reason why the Expedition Bigfoot was abruptly shut down. Tracking the hidden giants. Deep in the forest, the Expedition Bigfoot team had been watching quietly for days, using their high-tech equipment. Suddenly, their tools picked up some unexpected activity. The team quickly became alert. This new clue was so strange and alarming that they decided to leave the area right away. Stay with us as we uncover what really happened with the Bigfoot mystery. As the team hastily packed their gear, the strange silence of the forest was shattered by a low, resonant howl that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, leaving them with a chilling realization.
The big thing around here is Kushtaka, which is a Bigfoot-like creature that has abilities to basically make you go crazy.
They were not the hunters, but the hunted. As the team moved forward, they started to believe that more than one Bigfoot might be living in the area. Their journey deeper into the thick wild forest was filled with tension. Soon they came across a terrifying scene, scattered bones and bits of flesh that hinted at something having happened there. This chilling discovery only confirmed their fears, pushing them closer to the answers they were looking for. As they went even deeper, the forest grew darker and more intimidating. They then found something shocking, a large handprint in the mud, clearly not human. Both Russell and Mireya knew how important this find was. It was solid proof that something was out there, as clear as the disturbed ground beneath them. This wasn't just another small clue, it was a major discovery, pointing to a creature that might be dangerous. But that wasn't the worst part. Mireya quickly shared the news with Ronnie, who rushed to the scene. He was stunned by the size of the handprint. But what they found next was even more surprising. Close by, they saw marks that looked like knuckles, suggesting that the creature could move in a way that reminded them of both humans and apes. The year before, Mireya had noticed similar traits when she compared a Bigfoot skull with those of humans and apes, noting striking similarities. These new discoveries backed up her earlier observations and hinted at a creature that was much more complex than they had imagined. Things got even more interesting when Russell noticed something else. There weren't just one set of tracks, there were two. It was clear that more than one creature was roaming this remote wilderness.
I felt like it was coming from over there.
Oh, it was coming from way over there, but it didn't pick up on this. I'll switch the channel.
With this new information, the team increased their efforts. They took photos, measured every footprint carefully, and studied the evidence closely. Even though the rough landscape made things difficult, they started to wonder if the creatures were using the river as a path to move around, maybe retreating to the valley to find food or shelter. This idea shaped their next steps. They decided to focus their search on the valley, hoping to find more clues about these hidden creatures. But time was running out, and their supplies were running low. They quickly made a new plan, using drones with thermal cameras to search the area from above, while teams on the ground carefully explored the riverbanks. The air was thick as the team started their mission. Bryce controlled the drone, guiding the others with radio instructions. Every small noise in the dense forest, like a rustling leaf or a snapping branch, made the tension grow. They weren't just searching, they were chasing something, driven by curiosity and a deep desire to find out what was hiding. When the drone's thermal camera picked up a shape that looked like a person moving between the trees, their excitement grew. They wondered if this was the moment of discovery or if they were simply chasing shadows, following a path that might lead to nothing. As they continued, they realized how big the challenge was. A small group in the middle of a massive, untamed forest, hoping to uncover secrets that might not want to be revealed. The journey raised important thoughts about nature, protection, and our need to understand what we don't know. But they also had to accept the possibility that some mysteries like Bigfoot might want to stay hidden. Night falls and the unknown awaits the team. A high-tech hunt for Bigfoot. The drone and ground teams worked together, the drone scanning large areas while the ground team followed the river. This approach helped them cover the entire 20,000-acre valley, surrounded by mountains 3,000 feet tall. Each team member knew how important the mission was, staying alert and aware of the small chance they might encounter something strange. But that wasn't the hardest part. Searching for Bigfoot came with many challenges, including the fear that their presence could change what they were trying to observe. Moving forward, they needed to balance science, nature, and ethical concerns. Their mission wasn't just about finding evidence, but also about respecting the natural world and its complexity. Just as they thought they were close, the forest shifted again, pointing them to something even harder to find. Later that evening, Ronnie, Mireya, and Russell were walking along the river when Bryce and his team, using a drone with a heat-sensing camera, saw something moving quickly through the thick woods in the valley. This movement was happening a few miles away from where Mireya and Russell were. Bryce's team immediately called Mireya, suggesting that these creatures, possibly Bigfoots, might be heading towards the cold glacier. Mireya and Russell quickly changed their path to try and meet the figure Bryce had spotted. Meanwhile, on the other side of the valley, Ronnie noticed some strange things happening in the dense forest. He could hear the sound of branches snapping and leaves rustling, but it was hard to see anything because it was so dark. Luckily, Bryce was able to use advanced technology to improve Ronnie's night vision. The drone was then sent towards Ronnie's area, and it picked up heat signals that could have been from an animal or a person.
So the team has gone home, and as usual, I'm taking a second look at everything that we captured out in the field. Do you remember those microphones that Ronnie and Mireya played?
At first, the signals were unclear, but as the drone got closer, the heat signals became more defined, sparking their interest even more. The heat patterns moved quickly, but just as the drone was getting close, the signals suddenly stopped. This only made Ronnie more curious, and he went deeper into the thick forest, hoping to spot the creature. Bryce, realizing Ronnie might need help, decided to meet up with him and offer assistance in person. This movement was happening a few miles away from where Mireya and Russell were. Bryce's team immediately called Mireya, suggesting that these creatures, possibly Bigfoots, might be heading towards the cold glacier. Mireya and Russell quickly changed their path to try and meet the figure Bryce had spotted. Meanwhile, on the other side of the valley, Ronnie noticed some strange things happening in the dense forest. He could hear the sound of branches snapping and leaves rustling, but it was hard to see anything because it was so dark. Luckily, Bryce was able to use advanced technology to improve Ronnie's night vision. The drone was then sent towards Ronnie's area, and it picked up heat signals that could have been from an animal or a person. At first, the signals were unclear, but as the drone got closer, the heat signals became more defined, sparking their interest even more. The heat patterns moved quickly, but just as the drone was getting close, the signals suddenly stopped. This only made Ronnie more curious, and he went deeper into the thick forest, hoping to spot the creature. Bryce, realizing Ronnie might need help, decided to meet up with him and offer assistance in person. Ronnie followed the sounds and soon found large footprints and broken branches, which showed that whatever had passed through was very big and strong. The distance between the footprints suggested it had a long stride. Ronnie used his thermal camera to scan the area, but the thick trees made it hard to see anything, blocking both his sight and the heat signals. As he tried to get a better view, he noticed a figure moving toward him. At first, he thought it could be the Bigfoot, but it turned out to be Bryce, who had arrived to help. After exchanging what they'd each observed, they decided to follow the trail they thought the creature had taken. Excited by the chance of finding it, they pushed forward with even more energy. Their flashlights were the only source of light as they made their way through the rough terrain. Eventually, they reached a clearer path, which seemed to be used frequently by these creatures, especially near the glacier. But this was just the beginning of what they would discover. As they moved forward, the group came across a disturbing sight, a fresh animal. The bright red blood stood out sharply against the white snow. This was unsettling, especially since they were in an area known for having a dangerous predator. Normally, something like this would cause panic, but the team's commitment to their mission helped them stay calm. A closer look at the scene suggested the animal might have been an elk or a Sitka black-tailed deer. Among the scattered remains, a broken rib bone caught their attention, making them wonder about the strength and reasons behind such an attack. Old clues lead to new questions as the hunt deepens, tracing ancient humanity's echoes. This site made them think back to earlier studies. Researchers had found that ancient humans would break bones to get to the marrow inside, which is rich in nutrients and thought to have played a key role in brain development. This practice was common during the Stone Age and important for human evolution. Ronnie and Bryce began to suspect they weren't just following a wild animal, but possibly something with human-like traits. Their theory was supported by earlier findings of tools made from volcanic glass in nearby caves, likely used by these creatures to cut meat, much like early humans did. Realizing they were dealing with a creature that was part animal, part human, deepened their understanding of the task ahead. They weren't just looking for a legendary beast, they were tracking something that had both the instincts of an animal and the intelligence of a human. This idea of a hybrid creature not only expanded their mission, but also offered clues about how humans and these beings might have evolved side by side. After a long night of searching, they stumbled upon something that made the danger even more real and their quest more urgent. What they found next was nothing like a typical animal attack. Bones were scattered all over, and the ground was soaked in blood, suggesting a fight with something far stronger than a wolf, bear, or big cat. The team quickly gathered some bones to study later, hoping to figure out what could have caused such destruction. But this wasn't just about being in the right place at the right time. It was about understanding the behavior of predators, both human and non-human. Local stories and recent evidence pointed to the possibility that Bigfoot had chosen this area because it provided plenty of food and shelter. Driven by curiosity and determination, Mireya and Russell decided to follow the trail as far as they could. Meanwhile, Ronnie and Bryce stayed behind to examine the site more closely. They noticed something strange. Large parts of the prey were missing, and there were no drag marks in the snow.
Ronnie, what the is this? Fresh kill.
This raised a terrifying thought, that the creature had carried its prey away, something only large, intelligent primates are known to do. Recent thermal images may have captured the creature, adding to their suspicions. Now more than ever, they knew they needed to stay and gather more clues. As Ronnie and Bryce moved carefully through the dense, shadowy forest, the sudden rustling wasn't just more background noise. It was a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they were getting closer to the mysterious creature they had been tracking. They tried using a thermal camera to help, but it didn't pick up anything, leaving them with more questions than answers. Meanwhile, Mireya and Russell were facing their own challenges, stuck in the snow that seemed determined to hide any trace of the creature's movements. Wildlife tracking has come a long way, using new tools to change the way we understand and connect with nature. For example, camera traps have become a vital part of conservation efforts. They can capture thousands of images, helping scientists gather important information about animals in the wild, like their behaviors and numbers. On top of that, satellite images and GPS tracking help scientists follow animals over large distances. However, even this technology has limits, as thick forest canopies sometimes block GPS signals. One of the most impressive tools used today is the Argos system. This technology uses special tags to send location data to satellites circling the Earth. Newer GPS tags even collect information about an animal's health and environment, which is the kind of gear that Ronnie and Bryce would love to use on their adventure. These tools give real-time data and help scientists understand how animals live in the wild. The team battles nature and technology in their search, unraveling mysteries with ancient skills and modern science. But here's the catch. Even with all these high-tech gadgets, researchers like Ronnie and Bryce still have to deal with nature's obstacles. Take the snow that slowed Mireya and Russell, for example. No matter how advanced the tools are, they still depend on nature leaving clues, like tracks or signs of movement. And sometimes nature just doesn't cooperate. Even when the sun came up and the search continued, it was clear to the team that technology alone wouldn't solve the mystery. Traditional tracking skills like noticing broken branches or disturbed leaves are still essential. These old-school methods are taught in wildlife tracking classes and fill in the gaps that machines just can't. As the sunlight spread across the landscape, covering both walked paths and untouched ground. It was this mix of human determination, technology, and the secrets of nature that kept the team hopeful. Each step felt like it was bringing them closer to uncovering the creature they were so eager to find. The journey of a modern wildlife tracker combines both ancient knowledge and cutting-edge science.
I definitely don't think we should give up on this place.
Right. What is that? What is that? Look up there. Look at the ridge.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, oh, right here. You see it?
All driven by a deep need to explore the unknown. But as they knew too well, this wasn't even the hardest part of their journey. In an unexpected moment, their camera operator noticed a small disturbance at the edge of the ice. He quickly signaled to Russell, who caught a glimpse of something before it disappeared again. This brief appearance suggested they might be following a human-like figure. With this clue in mind, Maria and Russell decided to venture further into the frozen landscape. Moving through a glacier filled with dangerous cracks in a harsh environment wasn't easy, but this difficult terrain could be the perfect hiding spot for someone or something trying to stay away from people. As they went deeper, their teammates Ronnie and Bryce stayed behind. Their effort paid off when they found a tall claw mark on a tree that didn't look like the usual ones made by bears, which are usually side by side. At the same time, Maria and Russell reached the top of their climb on another part of the glacier. Eager to catch up with the creature they were tracking, they had to deal with the freezing cold, which only thickly furred animals could handle easily. It took them a long time to cross the icy ground, but then Mireya spotted an ice cave. This was a crucial discovery. If this cave was being used by Bigfoot, it could be a huge find. As they got closer to the ice cave, it became clear why it would be a good hiding spot. There was a stream nearby, which could provide water for survival.
This is a huge find, because if an animal is going to survive in this type of an environment, this is exactly the type of shelter it's going to need.
Feeling more confident that this could be Bigfoot's shelter, Maria and Russell began searching the cave and the area around it for any signs of the creature. They felt they were on the brink of something important, but realized the huge mountain area was too big to search on foot. The rough terrain made the search harder, so the team decided to bring in a helicopter to look for the creature before it could disappear into the thick forest. But this wasn't the hardest part yet. Their producer was able to get a helicopter from a service in Juneau, which was a smart move given how large the area was. Searching only on foot would have taken too long. Once they were up in the air, they began scanning the landscape, hoping to spot the creature before it could vanish into the trees. The white snow on the ground made it easier to see anything moving, giving them a better chance to spot Bigfoot. The quiet forest keeps its secrets, as hope and mystery linger. Uncovering secrets in Alaska's depths. As the helicopter moved from the glacier to the edge of the forest, the team kept a close watch on the ground. Even though the weather was clear and they were giving it their full attention, they didn't notice any movement at all. But this wasn't the end of their search. After staying up all night watching the woods, the group felt downhearted by their unsuccessful search. They decided to check the area again, but still nothing moved. It seemed like the animal was either very good at hiding or had already escaped into the forest before they even got close. This was a big disappointment since they were so close to discovering something important about this elusive creature. But they missed the moment. Still, they didn't lose all hope, because they learned a lot that would help them in future searches. 3 weeks later, while most of his team had moved on, Bryce stayed behind to review their findings. Ronnie and Mireya had set up special microphones in the woods, which could catch even the tiniest sounds, much more sensitive than regular ones. Bryce carefully listened to the recordings from their trip.
Seeing some movement. Yeah, something's moving across the screen right here.
At first, all he could hear were usual forest sounds like birds, but then something unusual caught his ear. A deep, unclear voice. What first sounded like rustling soon turned into a deep voice. Could this be a recording of Bigfoot? Bryce worked hard to make the voice in the recording clearer and studied it more closely. The audio was from the night when the team was far into the woods, and since they hadn't run into anyone else that night, it seemed likely that it was Bigfoot's voice. Bryce was both puzzled and excited by what he found. He reached out to Dr. Ronald Cosper, a linguist who was known for his work with rare and complex languages. Dr. Cosper had even claimed to have translated some Bigfoot words from old stories, making him the perfect person to study this recording. Dr. Cosper was eager to help figure out the sounds in the audio. When they talked, Dr. Cosper thought the voices seemed very human-like. Bryce was excited to learn what the words might mean. Dr. Cosper was able to make out a few words, like waves, flat, and kumba. They discussed how things like distance, background noise, and air pressure might have changed the sounds, but they still believed these were real words spoken by Bigfoot. Dr. Cosper noticed that there seemed to be two different voices in the recording. One voice said kumba, while the other mentioned flat and wave.
These aren't real Bigfoot vocalizations. They're just sound effects cleverly edited into a video in order to create an internet sensation.
Bryce's suspicion that there might be more than one creature was starting to make sense. He shared more details about that night with Dr. Cosper, which supported the idea of multiple creatures being present. After talking it through, Bryce began to think that these creatures might not only be able to speak, but could even live together in a community. This exciting thought led them to start planning another trip to find this group of creatures. But this wasn't the end of their challenges. With this new information, the team prepared for bigger tasks and possibly a return to Alaska to confirm Bigfoot's existence. Excited by what they had found, the team geared up for what might be their most daring adventure yet. If multiple creatures can communicate and live together, does this suggest a broader Bigfoot society? Like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments below.